For 18 long years, the people of Israel suffered under the cruel rule of King Eglon of Moab. They cried out for deliverance, but their prayers seemed to go unanswered. Their land had become a place of sorrow, their freedom stolen, their hope fading. But in the midst of their suffering, God was preparing a deliverer, a man no one would have expected. A man with a secret advantage. His name was Ehud. Before we dive into this gripping story, take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe. If you love powerful Bible stories told with depth and drama, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Here's a question for you. Have you ever faced a challenge that seemed impossible, yet somehow, God made a way? Tell us in the comments. It all began with a war. A war Israel did not win. King Eglon, the ruler of Moab, had joined forces with the Ammonites and the Amalekites. Together, they marched upon Israel, overpowering their armies, seizing their cities, and taking control of their lands. The Israelites, once free, were now slaves in their own home. Eglon was no ordinary king. He was cruel, ruthless, and he ruled with an iron fist. He forced Israel to pay heavy tribute, gold, grain, livestock, everything they had. And while his people feasted, the Israelites starved. He sat on his throne, gorging himself on the wealth of the nation, growing fatter and fatter, while Israel grew weaker. 18 years. Can you imagine? 18 years of oppression, of fear, of hopelessness. But in their suffering, the Israelites did the one thing they should have done from the start. They cried out to God. And God heard them. He always does. And so, he raised up a deliverer. Not a warrior. Not a mighty general. But a man with a plan. A man named Ehud. Ehud was different. In a world where warriors were trained to fight with their right hand, Ehud was left-handed. Many saw it as a weakness. But God saw it as a weapon. Ehud was chosen to deliver Israel's annual tribute to King Eglon. It was a dangerous mission, one that brought him face to face with the enemy. But this time, Ehud carried more than just tribute. He carried a hidden weapon and a mission from God. What about you? Have you ever been underestimated, only to prove that God can use anyone for his purpose? Let us know in the comments. Before setting out for Jericho, where Eglon's palace stood, Ehud crafted a special weapon. A dagger, double-edged, sharp, and deadly. But most importantly, it was small enough to be concealed beneath his robe, strapped to his right thigh. A place where no one would think to check. Because, after all, only right-handed men carried swords. The guards would never suspect a thing. With his plan set, Ehud and his men gathered the tribute, gifts of food, silver, and gold, and journeyed toward the palace of the most powerful man in the land. The palace of King Eglon was a fortress, heavily guarded and lavish beyond measure. Marble floors gleamed under golden chandeliers. Servants moved in every direction, carrying platters of food, trays of jewels, goblets of wine. And at the center of it all was Eglon himself. If you're still watching, you must be hooked by now. Go ahead and subscribe for more deep Bible stories told like this. Seated upon his great throne, the Moabite king was a sight to behold. Massive in size, draped in rich fabrics, adorned with jewels, he was a man who had taken all he desired. But there was one thing he never expected. A visitor who came not to honor him, but to end his reign. As Ehud and his men presented the tribute, the king smirked in satisfaction. Another year of wealth. Another year of Israel's submission. He waved his hand dismissively, signaling that they could leave. But just as they reached the doors, Ehud paused. His heart pounded. The time had come. Ehud said to the king, "Your Majesty, I have a secret message for you." The king, intrigued by the promise of secrecy, ordered his servants to leave. The guards, the advisors, the attendants, all gone. Only Ehud and Eglon remained. Eglon said, "Speak, Israelite. What message do you bring?" Ehud took a step closer. His voice was calm, steady. "It is a message from God." Before the king could react, Ehud's left hand shot to his right thigh. In a flash, the hidden dagger was in his grasp. And in one swift, powerful motion, he drove it deep into Eglon's belly. This is the moment everything changes. Would you have had the courage to do what Ehud did? Let us know in the comments. The blade sank in, and the king let out a final gasp. The dagger, swallowed by his massive frame, disappeared entirely. And then, silence. Ehud had done it. The tyrant was dead. But there was no time to celebrate. He had to escape. Locking the doors behind him, Ehud slipped away, unnoticed. The guards, assuming their king was resting, did not enter for hours. By the time they discovered the truth, Ehud was already leading an army. Rallying the Israelites, he declared the words they had longed to hear. Ehud said, "Follow me. For the Lord has given Moab into your hands." With courage burning in their hearts, the Israelites rose up. They struck down the Moabites, driving them out of the land. And for the first time in 18 years, Israel was free. One man's courage changed the course of history. And it all started with a left-handed warrior who trusted in God. And so, for 80 years, the land had rest. What did you learn from Ehud's story? Share your thoughts in the comments. Hit like if you loved this story. Subscribe and turn on notifications for more epic Bible stories. Until next time, stay strong, stay faithful, and remember, God can use anyone, even you.